Good afternoon, everyone. Let's head right on into Collectively Rewilding. I hope you are all having wonderful days. And it's actually a little bit more wintry here today in Utah, but still too warm. How are you all doing on quitting?
Still doing good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's still just not really bothering you. You're just kind of not worrying about it, and it's
I
continuing.
have my I have my days where like
Mhm.
I just craving for it, but I just, keep myself brainly active, like regarding or, you know, uh putting my brain somewhere, not focus on that type of because it's really contagious when you are ordering things on the, Instacart, when you're ordering food and you see alcohol. So
Yeah,
that's one of the habits that I had was ordering alcohol on Instacart. So when I'm doing that, it's kind of like a trigger for me. But other than that, I have my day so far, still sober. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's awesome. I don't think you can get alcohol delivered in Utah. I'm pretty sure. So, you another reason to move to Utah, I suppose.
But don't you guys get like cigarettes delivered to you?
I don't know. I've never tried. I
Yeah.
don't get much delivered to me. I don't even get
Yeah.
Walmart delivered to me anymore because I place too big of an order and the tips are so expensive because I'm not going to tip somebody that's doing the work, right? So I give them an equitable tip and we can be talking $50 as a tip. So I quit getting it delivered. And then they had in-store delivery, so you weren't paying for tips, right? They're getting an hourly wage. They signed on for the job. That's the job they chose. And they don't have it here in Tooele. So I really don't get almost anything delivered. Amber still gets some Uber Eats or whatever sometimes, but not much. It costs too much. Have you ever added up how much you spend when you do that?
Uh, it's racking up. Now that I don't drink, I can spend things on more things that I need. I can totally see the difference. Just, the sale taxes and, just adding about all those cans that I get.
Mhm.
Yeah, it adds up for sure. $20, like it's like a
I can take those in.
I would say like $20 a delivery. Is that
We still
every
got
day?
suitcases on our property. I'm tired of seeing them.
Yeah, so it was difficult for sure. $20 a day adds up. It's like Starbucks,
Yep.
any type of addiction. It racks up sometimes. But when
Actually,
you
my
stop
Dr.
doing,
Peppers, that was one of the problems. They didn't cost me almost anything. The wear on the tear of the car, 15-ish minutes of my time, and the gas to go a mile and a half with $1.17 soda. So I had to use other reasons to quit soda because that's just not that expensive, right?
yeah,
Starbucks though, I think it's
that's
like
true.
$8 a coffee, isn't it? Like at least five for like the most simple Starbucks you could possibly
Oh,
get.
the smallest one is like $9.
Wow.
Yeah, so when I go tall size, so it's like $12 or something like that. We haven't had one in a very long time.
I've never had one. Just being completely real with you, I love that they're very environmentally friendly. I really don't have negative things to say about the company. From what I understand, they treat their employees really well. They're really trying to help keep the coffee bean in its natural environment and pushing for these types of growths. And it's been too long since I did the research. There's a way that it's better for coffee beans to grow, and it has something to do with shade. And they're really focused on that. And I think that that's props to them. Props to them, and for everybody willing to pay $9 to $12 a coffee to pay for those programs. That's awesome. Way to go. I'm a penny pincher to pay that much for a drink. I don't even pay that much for an alcoholic drink, right? And so it would be hard for me to cough up $9 to $12 for a coffee.
That's
If it's
that's when I'm
delicious.
craving like chocolate because like I like
Mm-hmm.
their chocolate
Mocha.
chip mocha ice blended mocha and their whipped cream. I'm not a coffee drinker, but when I'm craving chocolate,
Yeah.
Starbucks it is,
I usually
I just go for your dark chocolate Hershey's bar. I can keep that in my drawer. here in my office. And I'm not a closet either,
Yeah,
right? But if I don't put my treats and if Amber doesn't put her treats in a spot, then Jay and I's youngest daughter and my husband Jay will eat it before Amber and I get to eat any of it. So she and I, we protect our treats. We're not hiding them in shame. We're protecting them from predation of the rest of the household. Funny stuff. Anyone else? Please go ahead.
No, I'm doing pretty good with my quitting.
And remind me, Candace, what were you quitting? It was soda? Not soda. Wendy's quitting soda, right?
Yeah, my quitting was the fussing.
Oh, well, I don't
Yeah.
know. After our discussion of yesterday, I'd probably be pretty darn fussy if I was dealing
Well,
with it. So,
you know,
some more power.
it's funny because like I was a school bus driver for special needs for so long, and I could deal with other people's kids, but it's like mine's. I be like, really, who is your mother? Like you act like you don't even know who I am, because they can have my mind blown sometimes.
Talking to my mother yesterday, right? And our youngest daughter, she does what we call fingertip cleaning. And she goes like this to clean things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I cannot convey how softly she's touching whatever it is. And so we called it fingertip cleaning for at least 5 years. I've worked with her. My husband's worked with her. Our oldest daughter has worked with her. My mother has worked with her. And she just won't. She just will not stop finger cleaning. Yes, our own children, they drive us crazy.
I swear. Because I just asked my son, I said, I need you to clean the kitchen. So he put everything away. And I went in the kitchen. I said, son, the kitchen is not clean. And he said, I followed the instructions. I said, well, what about the dishes? Well, you didn't say that. Wait a minute. What?
Yeah,
okay.
we had those discussions too. Do the dishes meant clean the kitchen
Yeah.
to us, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
not to our children.
Yeah, I don't understand, and I'm just like, this doesn't make sense. But let one of these gaming systems tell you what to do, then you own it.
That's what I would
Nobody have to
as
tell
well.
you.
I would say,
Yeah.
Autumn, I know you're not stupid because you can follow really complicated instructions in these games.
Yeah. See, as long as I'm not by myself, because good
You
grief.
are not. My mom, she wasn't trying to give me a hard time, but she's like, take the phones away. I said, Mom, it didn't matter if she was outside playing with friends and not on a phone. It didn't matter before she had a phone until she decides she's going to make a change. I can harp at her. I can be persistent. I can stay on it every single day. I can tell her every day. I can show her once again what I really want done. But until she decides, it's not going to happen. And so she has autism, right? And I think that's to some degree what you could say about any of us, but there seems to be this very stubborn characteristic to autism. And I will say that as a part of autism, we can all be stubborn, but there's just this, it's almost genetic. Like when I can't quit talking because of my bipolar, right? Like I've finally gotten it under control in the last 5 to 10 years, but I could not stop myself. My chemicals would take over and I would just cycle on the same things I was upset on for hours sometimes. And it's like that with her. Her stubbornness is almost innate, like it's built in. So she's going to have to work on that over time. But until she decided, she didn't learn how to read. It didn't matter how much time I spent on it with her, how much time my mother spent on it, my husband, my father, my daughter. She didn't decide it until she was ready. Once she was ready, she went up 2 grading levels in 6 months because she decided. And that's the case for all of us. When we're quitting, if we don't decide it, it doesn't matter how many people want us to, how good we know it is for us. It's an inner decision. And it's a hard thing to break through a chemical addiction because let's face it, even Miss Candace, as she's saying, she doesn't want to be such a fussy companion, right? Which I don't think you're fussy at all, but we each get to determine our own paths and I will trust you for yours. And so even that though, it's a decision. And I kind of look at that one, we talked a little bit here in Collectively Rewilding when I was reading that Falun Gong book. And and I lost my train of thought. You just can't get it back. It's completely gone. What we're deciding, I can't. Oh, okay. And so forbearance, right? It's truth, compassion, and forbearance. Those are some of the biggest ideas to take away from Falun Gong, from my understanding. And truth and compassion, no problem. That's how I live my life to the best that I already can and keep always working to do better. Forbearance, not being whiny. I don't call it fussy. I call it whiny. That is like, oh my gosh, when I'm sick, I'm like, I'm sick. Why do I have to be sick? I hate people. And so forbearance is like, oh my gosh, right? So it is a decision that we have to make. And I've gone through several addictions that I've quit over the years. And the year previous to my quitting, I would have told you, I'm never going to quit. I don't know how I would quit. I can't quit. I've tried. And then yet when my body, my mind, and my spirit decided that I was going to quit, I quit. So just do it. That Nike slogan, man, I tell you what, Nike isn't my favorite brand, but that slogan, it works. If there's something in your life that you want to change, the only real answer is just do it, right? And so go ahead.
I say I agree with that.
Fake it till you make it. That's another one I would tell my oldest daughter. You know, we as parents, we don't want to let them be fussy, right? And we do have to teach them bounds on it. But I think that, at least in my case, sometimes I did take it too far. And so when you read those articles, are you allowed to have your own emotions? Do you ever allow your child to have their own emotions, right? So there's excess, there's where we have to teach societal boundaries, familial boundaries. But then there's also this part that as adults, sometimes we have really grouchy bad days. And trust us, our kids know it, right? So why would we always then expect our children not to have bad, grouchy days? And so allowing that, I don't know how to say it, allowing the freedom of self to make mistakes, allowing that freedom to even recognize the things that you want to change, and then not hating on yourself until you make that change, because the hating on yourself is just going to make you more stressed and actually more likely to pursue your bad habit, right? So with everything that we do here in Collectively Rewilding, it's all about replacing less positive or healthy ways of interacting with ourselves, with our environment, with our communities, and finding something to do that instead is proactive, is healthy, is community and self-loving and family-oriented, and pushes towards that sustainable future that we all would like to reach, right? And that this whole picture is a part of it. We are no more or less important than our own environment. We are no more or less important than the bugs. We are no more or less important than our neighbors, right? We all have to matter. And that's why quitting, I think, is so hard for so many people. I was just talking to Charity, right? We all know Charity and love Charity, and she's really hard on herself. And I used to be really hard on myself. And I think that for some of us, that's a pretty natural pattern as well. But just as I asked her, once we've recognized that we made a mistake and looked at our mistake and thought, what would I have rathered I did in that moment? What would I rather do in that moment, have done? And then if there's an apology needed, I've made the apology. Other than continuing to try to act better in the future, what good does it do to stay in that moment of self-castigation and debilitating hatred of self? Who is it benefiting? It's not benefiting whoever you felt you need to apologize, right? It's certainly not benefiting you. And it's actually taking away your ability to be healthy so that you could help others if you wanted to, right? That was a big part of what Charity and I's conversation revolved around, because Charity loves helping other people. But I don't think that Charity thinks that she deserves her own help or health. That's what I think this as a community quitting together, part of that process is deciding that we deserve to make better choices for ourselves. We deserve to spend a moment on ourselves doing something better than smoking, than fussing, than drinking soda, than vaping, than alcohol, than horrible drugs, right? Because we all know I have green in my life. That's part of my life. And I don't consider that a real drug. Now, you can do anything too much. You can drink too much water. Did you know that drinking too much water can actually kill someone? Anything too much is bad, right?
Yeah.
And so we have to love ourselves enough to give ourselves the room to make mistakes, at the same time, the room to grow. Because a lot of times we'll say, oh, I'll just worry about that tomorrow. I'll just do that next week, right? Because there's always more time. But we all know there's really never a guarantee that there's more time. And we do deserve that attention from ourselves. So if instead of smoking a cigarette for myself, right, what I'll do sometimes is I don't really have a lot of time to just play with the animals or hang out with my children or whatever. I'm working 50 hours a week in LH2 and then spending at least 20 hours or more here in Collectively Rewilding. I'm a mom. I have 4 animals. My husband has MS and he's working out of the home at least 50 hours with 10 hours of drive time. So we're so busy, right? But there have been moments, especially in the mornings, it seems to be, if I can start my day off without that cigarette and maybe spend a moment talking to Amber or spend a moment talking to Autumn or spend a moment playing soccer with Rocky or something like that, that is something that we need to give ourselves the room to do. Now, we all have our survival necessities, right? We have to put the food on the table. We have to keep ourselves fed and clean and etc. But beyond that, I think that there's a lot of time that we fritter away. Even as busy as we all are, we fritter away time. And some of that is because I don't think that we think we deserve to spend time on ourselves, and instead we'll fritter it away, right? And so just think about the fact that quitting isn't about giving something up. It's really about accepting love of self. It's about accepting back your health. It's about accepting back the time that those bad habits take from us. And so how we frame it in our minds, and Tammy has done this really well, right? She isn't saying that scary quit word so much as she just didn't like some things that happened. And at this time, she's really not ready to risk that again. So she's pursuing her life. And that isn't this big cloud hanging over her head of, you have to quit, you have to quit, you have to quit. No, she just decided she wasn't going to go through that experience again in the near future, at least. And so when my Aunt Mickey quit smoking cigarettes, she kept a pack of cigarettes in her coat pocket because for her, it was about her control over it. No, I could have a cigarette right now if I want to, but I'm deciding for myself. And her partner, my Aunt Cindy, they quit at the same time because they realized that they were spending as much on cigarettes every month as a couple as they would on a brand new car. And that was what did it for them. They're like, we're paying to kill ourselves instead of paying for a new car. And so she told me that my Aunt Cindy didn't know she kept that cigarette pack in her coat pocket because Cindy just got rid of them for her. She just got rid of them. But in order for Mickey to have her journey, she needed that control to know she could reach for it whenever she wanted. She was making the choice. She was in charge, and she chose not to have that cigarette, but it was right there if she needed it, right? And so finding your own way. Don't judge yourself. Don't look to someone else. Let yourself make mistakes. Instead of hating on self, encourage yourself to love yourself and do something better for yourself next time. And look for those moments that you were more ready to let go of things. Sometimes I'm like, I don't really care if I have a cigarette right now, but I will still have a cigarette instead of a puffy air. So that's one that I'm really focusing on. If I'm really not jonesing for that cigarette, why do I reach for the cigarette instead of the puffy air? Because it's just a habit. So let's replace it with a better habit. And so I don't know if that helps any of you, but those are things throughout my life that have helped me and others. And it's all about how we frame our own perspective with the choices that we make in our life. Does that resonate for any of you?
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah,
does me.
very good. And again, we just take the pieces that fit for us. We're not worried about anybody else's choices. We're not worried about anybody else's path, except that if some of what they're doing would be something that we can put into our path, because that's what we want to strive for, right? It's like if somebody told me the only way you're going to quit smoking cigarettes is if you start getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'd laugh at them and tell them, well, then I guess I'm never going to quit smoking cigarettes, right? So we don't want someone else to dictate our journey. We want to decide. But that's where getting together and sharing those things, you may hear something in someone else's path and think, oh my gosh, that's that piece I've been missing. Or you may hear, wow, I don't understand how they can do that. That would kill me. I could never do that. But you're not worried about trying that. You're going to try the ones that have the most likelihood of success for your journey, right? All right, guys. Well, anybody want to share anything else? Everybody's been kind of quiet. It's kind of hard to talk. I think that's why AA is so good, because you can look at the people and be like, I know you haven't talked, right? And really, it's a little bit more encouraging. And when you see the other people talking instead of being so static online, it it's like a cultural courtesy that we feel pushed to follow, right? But I really do encourage you all to just love yourselves and forgive yourselves and work for a healthier tomorrow. Think about how much money you can spend on something else. Think about how much time you gain back. Think about how much time you'll get to spend with friends and family, because you're not going to give up 10 or 20 years of your life for a bad habit. But think about the positives. The more you focus on the negatives, man, I don't want to quit. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Oh my God, this sucks. This hurts. Instead, think, well, but can I make it another 10 minutes? You know, can I make it another hour? Is there something that I need to do that only takes 10 or 15 minutes that I can just get myself busy in? A lot of times, if I find that I can get myself active into something, I'll find 3 other little things to do before I finally end up going and having that cigarette. And so just constantly, without judgment of self, encouragement of self to keep working towards that better pattern, right? Just have it at the forefront of your mind all the time. You deserve to get rid of whatever is holding you back. All right, everybody, let's jump into that calendar. So tomorrow, how-tos for community outreach. Definitely try to make it, Miss Candace, and we'll spend at least 10 minutes on working that out with what you've got going on, getting a start, right? Just even starting to have an idea of where you would start. I think sometimes in moments like that is so stress relieving, right? It's not going to get rid of all of the stress, but once you know that you are starting to have a plan formulate, for me, it takes a lot of the anxiety out of the stress. Do you think that will help you to start having a picture of a plan?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. And I will let you guys know, I did go to the planning meeting last week. Yay! And it was very nice. It was very easy and it was a little bit boring, but it was definitely worth my time. And so I encourage you all to do anything like that that you may have been thinking about doing. And then come and talk to us tomorrow at 1:45 p.m. Pacific, 2:45 p.m. Mountain, 3:45 p.m. Central, and 4:45 p.m. Eastern for how-tos on community outreach. And please feel free to open up your mics, everyone, and say good evening.
Good night. Thank you, Sabrina.
Good evening, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.
Always, right?
Later.
Bye, everyone. Thank you all.